Atlanta, Georgia. In a late-night social media post that ignited NBA rumor mills, Hawks point guard Trae Young wrote, "Atlanta, 7 years down and the last time I won't be in the postseason." Publicists insisted he simply vowed to end the club's drought. Yet analysts noted the pronoun I, not we, and the sunset backdrop that felt like closure. The caption went live 72 hours after the Hawks bowed out in the play-in, and hours before ownership abruptly dismissed general manager Landry Fields. Inside team headquarters, the mood turned funeral. Staff whispered that Young's words sounded less like motivation and more like goodbye. Beat reporters phoning sources received no denials. Around the league, executives said stars rarely deploy cryptic captions unless positioning for leverage, and Young's camp offered zero clarification. Headlines from Atlanta to Los Angeles framed the post as the opening salvo of an off-season power play, and sportsbooks briefly suspended odds on Young's 2026 MVP futures. At present, the lone official comment remains the Instagram text, but consensus among league insiders is unmistakable. The face of the franchise has hinted he may soon trade Peachtree Street for a new address, thrusting the Hawks into the NBA's most volatile summer storyline. Public reaction was immediate. Within an hour, the clip had more than 2 million views, while ticket resale platforms saw a 30% spike as fans either cashed out or braced for a farewell tour. Before we dive into how things started unraveling, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're into deep dives like this. We break down the biggest stories in basketball without the fluff. Just facts, receipts, and a bit of chaos. And trust me, you're going to want to see how this one ends. Now back to the video. When Landry Fields accepted the general manager post 18 months ago, the Hawks' draft cupboard was bare and their payroll bloated. Fallout from the previous front office's ill-fated 4-pick plunge for DeJounte Murray. In a whirlwind debut campaign, the 34-year-old executive executed NBA triage. He rerouted Murray to New Orleans, netting defensive savant Dyson Daniels and 2 future first-rounders, then used a lottery selection on French wing Zachary Rissacher, whose quick-release three-point stroke immediately spaced floors clogged by non-shooting bigs. Fields also empowered forward Jalen Johnson, and the Duke product answered with near all-star production before a wrist injury. Metrics credited Fields with boosting Atlanta from a Vegas prediction of 36 wins to an actual 40, while restoring draft equity. Nevertheless, ownership dismissed him, a move rival executives read as a signal the franchise prefers a clean slate over incremental progress around Young. Multiple front offices now expect Atlanta to chase cap flexibility rather than veterans, a stance likely to depress the return on any impending Young trade. Within league circles, the firing cemented a lesson. Even textbook asset management cannot survive when an impatient boardroom decides that selling the promise of future picks plays better than grinding for the 7th seed. Fields exited after leaving full scouting notes, a gesture colleagues say clearly contrasted the abrupt dismissal hard. But that's not all. The roots of Atlanta's current impasse trace to June 2022, when then GM Travis Schlenk warned ownership that surrendering 4 unprotected first-rounders for Spurs guard DeJounte Murray was, in his words, a home run swing with a broken bat. The council was overridden by Nick Ressler, 27-year-old son of principal owner Tony Ressler, who used familial clout to ram the blockbuster through as veteran scouts watched in disbelief. Internal memos obtained by this outlet show Schlenk arguing the price exceeded market value by 2 picks. But the younger Ressler pitched the trade as a marketing jolt to revive buzz from the 2021 East Final run. Fallout came fast. Draft assets evaporated, payroll ballooned, and rival clubs exploited the rigidity. 6 months later, Schlenk resigned to spend more time with family, an industry euphemism for forced exit. Former staffers now describe a culture where basketball logic bowed to branding optics and dissenting data was ignored. The Murray gamble fizzled on court, the backcourt chemistry proved clunky, and off-court it shredded trust, laying the groundwork for today's showdown with Trae Young while leaving Atlanta to finance a shortcut that never delivered beyond the play-in. Multiple rival executives interviewed at last month's Combine in Chicago said the saga became a cautionary tale at team dinners, with one Western Conference GM quipping that Atlanta mortgaged tomorrow for a billboard today and wound up in escrow. So true. Trae Young's Atlanta tenure resembles an endless construction loop. Tear down, lay foundation, cut ribbon, then bulldoze again. His first 2 seasons missed the playoffs. Year 3 surged to the Eastern Conference Finals, where his Garden Villain act birthed the Ice Tray brand. The high faded to first-round exits and back-to-back play-in failures. Analysts note only Damian Lillard endured similar turbulence early, yet Portland at least stayed philosophically consistent. Young, by contrast, has cycled through 3 coaches, 2 general managers, and now faces another reboot. Post-Miami loss, he told reporters, "People know how much I care about winning. It's not easy for me," words tinged with fatigue. Teammates whisper he is weary of shepherding rookies while prime seasons tick away. Sports psychologists label this competitive suffocation, when ring ambition smothers under perpetual reset. In Young's case, the weight is heavier. Each viral replay of his 2021 shimmy reminds fans, and him, how far Atlanta has drifted. That emotional strain, insiders argue, now factors into contract math as heavily as salary or defensive fit. Inside the locker room, his speeches reportedly evolved from swaggering challenges to subdued process reminders. One staffer recalled Young staring at the whiteboard, marker hovering before saying, "Strategy feels pointless when rosters reset every July." Such glimpses expose the mental wear hidden beneath his media-friendly composure. Yay, it gets even crazier. Financial stakes now dwarf box score debates. The Hawks can extend Young 4 years at $229 million this July, or 5 years, $345 million, with an All-NBA nod, binding him through age 31. Yet ownership's record of luxury tax duckouts, including payroll dumps in 2017, 2019, and 2023, fuels skepticism. Agents quietly warn clients to expect budget lines in red ink when negotiating in Atlanta. If the Hawks balk at the full max, Young's camp could treat hesitation as disrespect and seek a pre-deadline trade. Losing him for nothing would be malpractice. Conversely, committing supermax money without a clear path to contention could freeze flexibility for years. Executives thus frame July as binary: overpay a flawed star and hope the draft yields a defensive anchor, or pivot to liquidation and reboot. Economists note arena district bonds assume near sellout crowds. Jettisoning Young risks those projections, layering municipal pressure atop basketball logic. The calculus stretches from ticket renewals to franchise valuation as expansion chatter builds. Cap strategists add another wrinkle. The next TV deal could swell the salary cap by 40% in 2026, meaning today's max might look mid-tier tomorrow. Fuel for Young's agents to argue thrift would age poorly. Yet veterans cite Oklahoma City's 2012 example, where looming tax surges forced a golden core apart. That cautionary tale now hangs over wrestlers' summer deliberations. Tax tiers next year tighten fiscal screws. On paper, Trae Young authored a playmaking masterpiece, 11.6 assists per game, leading the league and recording 200 of fourth-quarter dimes, a mark unseen since John Stockton in 1997. But deeper analytics reveal a duality. His 53% rim finishing is a career-low, effective field goal rate, the second worst since his rookie campaign, and 355 turnovers paced the NBA. Tracking data shows opponents hunted him on 38% of half-court possessions. When Young sat, Atlanta ranked 15th in defensive rating, but with him on the floor, they plummeted to 30th. One viral clip from the season finale, where he failed to box out Davion Mitchell and then yielded a wide-open three, became instant talking point fodder on studio shows. Scouts concede his pocket-passing artistry remains elite, yet insist his impact hinges on roster insulation. Armies of 3 and D wings to stifle drives, plus a rim-protecting big who can finish lobs. That formula mirrors the 2021 success with Clint Capella anchoring the paint. But such specialty ecosystems are scarce and expensive. Former coach Nate McMillan privately called it building a castle around a catapult. Devastating if fortified, vulnerable if exposed. Prospective suitors therefore weigh whether their current cores can shoulder the defensive tax. A Western Conference assistant summed it up: Trae raises your ceiling on some nights and digs your grave on others. The margin is your payroll. Playoffs magnify flaws, turning him into a fast target. Wait until you hear the next part. With free agency a summer away, Young's actual market paints a paradox. Nearly half the league projects cap space in 2026, yet genuine bidders are scarce. Contenders recoil from his defensive liability, and rebuilders balk at a superstar-sized paycheck that accelerates timelines they just reset. ESPN's Tim McMahon distilled the mood on a recent podcast. If teams truly coveted Trae, he'd already have a new zip code. Orlando, often floated by fans, prefers to keep the ball with Paolo Banchero. Houston funnels offense through Alperen Şengün. San Antonio selected De'Aaron Fox over Young at last year's deadline. Sacramento lingers as a plausible suitor. Sabonis craves a high-volume pick-and-roll partner, and ownership is hungry for star wattage. but negotiation whispers suggest Atlanta seeks multiple unprotected firsts plus Keegan Murray, a price Sacramento deems steep. Chicago monitors the situation, banking on DeMar DeRozan's expiring deal to balance salary. Dark horse executives mention Minnesota or Cleveland if early playoff exits spark panic. Yet even those desperate fringes view Young as luxury, not cornerstone. One Eastern Conference GM quipped, "You need the Fort Knox of wing defenders to make that work." The tepid appetite places pressure back on Atlanta. Lower the ask or risk a standoff that drags into training camp, echoing the Lillard saga nobody wants to replicate. Agents say a long stalemate erodes leverage, every leak thinning Atlanta's bargaining power. Even amid franchise turmoil, commercial commitments march on. Mid-season, Young signed a regional endorsement with meal prep chain MyFitFoods that stipulates integrated content across his social channels. Observers found it telling that the point guard's only media appearance after the play-in loss was a branded cooking demo, not a basketball sit-down. The segment aired on local morning news, and Young dutifully touted discount code AMHOOPS30 while preparing quinoa bowls. Branding experts say such activations are scripted months in advance, yet timing fuels speculation. Athletes often fulfill ad obligations before major transitions to avoid contractual breaches. One marketing executive noted Kyrie Irving completed a sneaker shoot just days before requesting his Brooklyn exit. MyFitFoods declined to comment, citing policy, but privately executives relish the unexpected viewership spike. The clip drew 500,000 views on YouTube in 48 hours, dwarfing previous uploads. For reporters, the takeaway is subtler. Young is maintaining public visibility while sidestepping direct questions, a classic crisis communications tactic that keeps sponsors happy and headlines circulating without providing clarity on his future. In that sense, the quinoa may matter less than the silence between bites. Media trainers label the move message dilution, flooding the news cycle with benign content so trade queries drown in lifestyle chatter, buying time for agents to work behind closed doors But the real shocker is still on the way. Actions from Atlanta's front office speak louder than any podium promise. In February, the franchise held the number. First overall pick yet declined lucrative veteran offers, signaling a youth-centric roadmap. Weeks later, they shopped wing DeAndre Hunter, and by March, DeJounte Murray was rerouted for prospects and picks. Collectively, those moves scream rebuild, even as press releases reference competitive retool. Meanwhile, Young's camp maintains radio silence. Multiple reporters confirm requests for comment go unanswered, a tactic that preserves leverage and prevents sound bites from becoming trade machine fodder. League sources insist everyone understands the subtext. If Atlanta senses hesitation on an extension, they must trade Young before February's deadline or risk a superstar walkout for zero return. The precedent looms large. Think Anthony Davis in New Orleans or James Harden in Houston, both sagas that ended with disgruntled stars and diminished leverage. Front office analysts calculate that every game played past New Year's Day without clarity slices potential trade packages by roughly 10% as the cap room shrinks and draft picks devalue. For now, both sides conduct a high-stakes staring contest. The Hawks banking on patience, Young betting that public hunger for a resolution will tilt blame toward management. One cap analyst calls it musical chairs. When music stops at February's deadline, any team still holding Young must then pay up or stand without a seat. The franchise now faces a binary crossroads. Scenario 1, ownership authorizes the full max, layers incentives for defense, and vows to spend into the tax for a rim-protecting center, effectively wagering that its recent top-pick lottery ticket blossoms quickly enough to surround Young with confidence. Scenario 2, the Hawks canvass the league by December, discover contenders still hesitate, and pivot to moving their star for the best package. Likely a playoff hopeful willing to sacrifice picks and absorb marketing cachet. Either path launches a new era. Keep Young and gamble on internal growth, or trade him and embrace the pain of starting over. Insiders lean toward the latter, noting Atlanta's recent transactions align with rebuild timelines, not win-now urgency. Yet one wildcard lingers: the prestige factor. Retaining a two-time All-Star preserves national broadcasts, jersey sales, and city pride. Intangibles difficult to quantify, but potent in ownership meetings. As one veteran advisor put it, "You can't hang future draft picks on a billboard. Regardless, the clock ticks." Young's Instagram caption wasn't a typo, but a countdown. And the buzzer may echo long before next opening night. Should Atlanta choose to trade, insiders cite the sweet spot between December 15th and mid-January, when newly signed contracts unlock and contenders still bargain. Deals struck then historically yield richer returns, Delay and leverage wanes as deadlines loom. Teams tighten budgets. Thank you so much for watching till the very end. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you never miss our next upload.